G.K. Chesterton said, at the back of our brains, so to speak, there's a forgotten there's a forgotten blaze or burst of astonishment at our own existence.
Mm.
That the object of the artistic or spiritual life is to dig for this sunrise of wonder.
Mm.
Love that. So welcome to the Institute for Advanced Astonishment. Today's guest is right there, Benjamin Smythe. How you doing, Ben?
Oh, so good. So happy to be right here.
So happy. Otherwise known as Jack Saturday. I was going to say the part of Benjamin Smythe tonight is played by Jack Saturday.
There we go. That's awesome.
I'm very excited for our talk. It's been a while. I've been a long time fan of your work and watched you from afar, and we've talked. And I'm just so glad we're back. We're here. And right before we start, I just want to do a quick intro of what the podcast is about. But we can go any way you want, Ben. It's about finding the most potent, effective ways to awaken to your true nature, to a mystical experience, or realize this advanced astonishment state, to realize our true quantum self, to realize you are not some limited, finite, dying thing, but you're actually immortal consciousness, lost in a dream of separation, to wake up and come home. So we really, there's so many podcasts that just talk and talk, but we try to here focus on what really works, what might really help someone who's struggling right now, who tunes in, and we focus on the if we extended the M, like astonishment, the three M's of astonishment would be matter. So seeing through the solidity of the world. Yes, that. Medicine. I don't know where you stand on that, Ben, at all, but the astonishment medicine, like magic mushrooms or DMT or MDMA or whatever that might, if it's taken properly, might show us the destination, this non-dual advanced astonishment state. And then once you see this, how do you maintain it? And so many people, they get a glimpse or they see something, but then they can't, they get lost again. And how do you hold on to that? So we call it mind training, and that could be meditation or mindfulness, anything that permanently raises the frequency and keeps you closer to that baseline experience. So we're just about that, and any kind of tools that Ben might have to offer to help somebody who's struggling. So that's the intro. And
Yeah.
what a dream to be here with you today in the Milky Way. Benjamin
Oh,
Smythe.
man. Right. Two diamonds.
Two diamonds, two dice. You have, what do you have over there?
Yeah. Just
Oh,
this. And then this one has letters.
oh,
So we can decide the next thought will start with an R.
an R. You know, my
We can
teacher
look it
was
up.
the amazing Randy. Oh, right.
Ah, all
Do you
right.
know Randy? I don't know if you
I
know
don't.
him.
No.
He was the godfather of the whole skeptic movement with Richard Dawkins and that whole
Michael
movement.
Sherman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I studied with him for many, many years, and I lived at his house, and he was Houdini's successor, so he could escape anything. He could, his poster that he gave me when I was a little kid said, "The man who no jail could hold,"
Oh.
and yet he couldn't escape this. He couldn't see through to any kind of non-dual state, and this guy could see through and expose all the fraudulent psychics and people that use tricks to pretend to read minds, and he would find the gimmick and he would offer $1 million to anybody who could do this, and no one won the money. But he was locked into materialism.
Well, it's easy to do.
That's true. Yeah,
It's really easy.
he's a natural, right? We're all naturals at that in the beginning.
Well, it feels pretty solid, right? You knock
Yeah,
on
it
it and it's
really
like it
does.
feels.
I remember my
Uh,
teacher I was telling you about earlier, he was telling me this is like a dream. And one day I'm visiting this philosopher up in the mountains in New York, Raymond Smullyan, and there was a bear dead in the road. And I hit the bear with the car. I tried to pull it, but if I went too far to the left, I was off the cliff. So I hit it and it felt really solid, like you
yeah,
just said.
yeah,
And it was so tricky to understand. How can it be ephemeral? How can it be like a dream, but also you get hit by a bus, you feel it.
yeah. Well, waking state, right? Like there's three
Yes.
states. There's waking state, dreaming state, and deep sleep.
Deep sleep.
And so
Yeah.
waking state, which is what we're in now, right? It has a particular density.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
I can't put it through, right? So there's a density that works here that is very different than the dream density where things can go through things.
I
And then
love the
both
word
states,
density. That's great.
yeah, that's how I think about it. There's different physical densities or physics densities. Whether it's physical or not, I don't know. But
I'm
then from deep sleep's perspective, neither of those states are there. So
right.
seemingly the substrate of what's happening is something like deep sleep.
Yes. That's perfect. I was in a restaurant the other day. Here it's a very spiritual community. So it was called the Third Eye Spiritual Bakery. And the owner knows what he's talking about. He's totally on the path. And as they were closing, I was talking like you were just there. And he's Italian, but in English, he pulled it off beautifully. He said, "This world is the densification of our imagination." And
Mm,
it reminded me of what you just said.
yeah, it feels like it. That the bodies are dream clothes.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, like these are God's dream clothes, and there's one dreamer having an
Oh,
immaculate dream the size of multidimensional reality. Like it's a multiverse that's infinite and kaleidoscopic. So I'm not gonna nail it.
you just nailed. That's it. We could pack up and go home right now. We did it. All the
Uh,
rest, we're playing with the house's money now after that sentence.
we're playing with the language. We're caught in the language.
That's why you have a thesaurus there.
Yeah, well, I don't want to know what I'm going to think next. So
I
I like
love that.
F, and then F. The first F is fearless.
Fearless.
Fearless, courageous, dauntless, daring, valorous, valiant, intrepid, unafraid. See courage. Courage.
Courage. The cowardly lion.
Courage, bravery, valor, boldness, strength, daring, gallantry, heroism.
Oh,
Gallantry. I love that. Gallantry.
that's good.
Yeah, it's fun.
Can we,
Yeah.
I know you might not want to do this, but can we start with where I first first came into contact with who you are? I saw that beautiful sign you made, and I saw a few interviews, amazing interviews about you way back. They were probably 2012. I'm not sure, way back.
Yeah.
And I'll try to sum up what I remember, and then you can correct it. I think you were in a 2-story house on the second floor. I'm probably wrong. And you looked out. I'm imagining some farm or something. I don't know where you were. And you said, "Show it to me." Like you asked to see. There had to be something more than this, and you asked for it or something, and you
Mm.
had this beautiful experience. Can you correct that?
Yes. So it was in the winter.
Winter.
It was in the winter, and I had come home, and I was really depressed, and I was kind of planning to end myself.
Oh,
And I whispered, and nothing happened.
nothing happened.
But the nothing that happened was bigger than my understanding.
Ooh.
And so the sadness switched places with that, and I wasn't sad anymore. And then I became a mouthpiece for the idea that you could talk about it.
Yes.
And that was a funny, chaotic adventure on its own. But now I feel like you said earlier, when you're like trying to recede into the non-sleight of hand reality of
Yes.
things. Okay, so now that's where I'm at too. Like, let's just
Right. One of my favorite moments
uh,
with watching you over the years was with you and Rick Archer, who's a good friend of mine, and you're on that Buddha at the gas pump, and so many interviews he's done, but yours stands out for one reason to me. You just went right into the quiet stillness, right? You said, let's just do it. And you just shut up and just, you were the living example of it right there, which is so beautiful. And it stuck with me all the way to today.
hmm.
Remember that?
Well, I was starting again.
We go right back.
Well, there's only one silence.
Yes.
And all the talk is like these like dolphins, just pew, psh,
Ah,
pew, psh.
I love that, dolphins.
Yeah. Well, what's talking me seemingly is talking you, and seemingly is listening. But I don't know how to poet. The poetic dance is always a kind of around and around we go.
Yes.
How to say it, it's like it can't be said, and you can try in 1,000 ways.
Do you feel like we have to try in a way?
No, because that's the beauty of being quiet together. But
Yeah.
it doesn't make for an interesting conversation necessarily, but
Right.
it can make for peace and quiet, which itself is valuable.
Yes.
So there's no rush. I mean, you were welcome to introduce silence anytime throughout the conversation.
Sure.
And at the same time, when you're making a recording for the public,
Yeah.
25 minutes of silence, everyone's just going to skip to the when are they talking again. I know, because
That's
I do
why.
it. If I come across meditation on a video, I just skip it until back to the talk,
Right.
so I'm not going to sit here and try to introduce that idea.
You were just right though with Rick Archer. You didn't go too long, but you stayed just the right amount of time.
Well, it wasn't me, so.
No. So what was it?
Well, I like Korzybski, Science and Sanity, and he has this fun way of, if you notate accurately, the body is always, let's say, the name, so it's Benjamin, and then it's date, time, GPS. And so that was a different version of what's sitting here now. And
Yes.
what's sitting here now is not that at all, because it's not possible forever there to be a copy. Like, we can make artifacts, right? We can make videos, but that we're
Right.
never in them.
Right.
It's impossible. So
It's genius.
that was a different version of a perception in the end, I guess.
And when I thought about you coming on, I said he might not want to go into how to help a seeker. You might not talk
Well, we
about that,
can,
but then I said maybe he will though,
sure.
So what made you so was it after the hey God moment and nothing happened and everything happened? Was it after that you made the sign?
No, the sign existed before that. I met a man in
Oh,
Laguna Beach in the year 2005. The God moment was 2008. So in
right.
2005, I met a dude on the street, and he was just saying it to people. I
Yes.
walked by and he goes, "You're perfect." And I was like, "Wait a minute, that felt too good. What's going on?" So I go back and I talk to him, and I said, "Why are you saying that?" And he said, "I'm the only one I can't see. So if you feel what I mean, you'll show me what I look like." Oh, right. I mean, what
That
a
was it.
beautiful little loop.
When I
Right.
tell
So,
people that, there's this lady, Angela. She's my dad passed a couple of years ago, and she was his 93-year-old girlfriend.
hmm,
And I tell her about, like I'm going to talk to Benjamin, and I call her and we do these long talks. And when I told her that, she just cried, just broke down,
oh,
you know. She's so excited to hear this. And I'll
oh.
show there's the sign. Was there one sign or a couple of signs?
No, no, I made them and threw them away, or gave them away and made them.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, yeah. It was a really interesting adventure. I don't do
And
it
then,
anymore. I haven't done it for 5 years. I just sort of put it away.
right.
Like, let the new ideas come if there are any. And so far there aren't any, but that's okay.
So, okay, you went out there with the sign, and what would you say now to someone who might be watching and they just can't, 40 years of meditation, they can't get this?
Well, there's nothing to get separate from that you don't remember this. So
Right.
the thing to really key into for me, the astonishment, is more than the medicines, which I've tried, more than meditation, which I've done, is
Right.
the fact that we don't remember where we physically are, if I can say it that way.
Well, this is
So,
great because this is something new that no one said so far. So
well,
let's dig
this
into that.
appearance, yeah, this appearance that's taking place is outside of our knowledge.
I love, wait, can we call it, this is another M for memory.
Yeah. So
And we
this is
don't remember this.
we don't remember this. So we're
Right.
sitting here at the edge of universal history. It's
Yes.
unfolding as us, and we have no knowledge about it. And if we're quiet, like this is the invitation that I think Ramana always invites everyone
Yes.
in the world to play with, is if we're quiet, we'd become the answer to all the questions we're trying to ask.
All
But
right,
it's a stupid
so
kind of simplicity.
so I'm trying to be that 40-year meditating. They say, yeah, but I can't get quiet. Killing me.
If I say I don't believe you, you know.
I love it. So you would tell someone who says they can't get quiet, you'd say, I don't believe you, you can. And you would
Well,
just,
there's a gap too. When you can't get quiet, notice that you're listening. You're not actually making the
yes,
noise.
that's good. So
So
back up.
I'm just listening. Like when you watch Jeopardy, right? Like if you watch Jeopardy, you hear the question and you hear the answer, and
Right.
you don't do either part.
Right.
So it's very beautiful. Jeopardy is a wonderful way to
Yes.
catch consciousness playing, because you can catch it hearing the question and you can catch you hearing the answer. Well, you're in between the two as the ultimate listener.
Right.
So that's the gap. I mean, that helps anybody who can't get quiet, is just realize you're not making the noise.
You're not
And then if
making
it's
the
loud,
noise.
it's loud. If it's loud, it's loud. If it's quiet, it's quiet. But
Just don't identify with the loud.
I don't mechanically, I don't know how to say it. It's just check out that you don't remember where you are and
That's
you're
good.
listening to all the mental noise, so to speak.
Yes.
You're not making the mental noise, you're listening to it.
That's perfect.
So then
Remember that? Remember that? I know you know it. The guy comes to the Buddha and says, my mind is screaming, help me, my mind is screaming. And Buddha says, why do you ask me? How do you know my mind's not screaming? And the guy's like, you look so peaceful. And the Buddha's like, yeah, because I don't listen to it. I don't pay attention. You know, like you said, I'm not that screaming. I just don't pay attention to it.
Mhm. Well, I'm not yeah. And it's odd to say it out loud because I'm obviously apparently the thing talking, but really deeply in that state of not saying anything, the internal is just listening.
Yes.
It can be as loud as it wants. That's what I learned by staring at the wall. You know, I got into meditation through
I
Zazen.
know.
And so you just stare at the wall. Well, you don't have to do anything with the mind because it's not going anywhere.
Right.
It can be as loud or as quiet or whatever, because the point isn't the point is simply that it's just an object. It's not me. The noise is not me. The
Right.
mistake might be, oh, I'm the noise. And it's like, that's just direct experience. Just check. Are you actually the one making the thinking happen? Or I heard a guy interview with Walter Driscoll recently, Bob Trocmé, might be French guy, really beautiful. And he said, the momentum of words is not our doing.
Mm,
Oh,
I
I
love
cried
that.
like twice hearing that. That was beautiful.
And
The
what's
momentum
Terence
of
McKenna
words.
say? Words are just small mouth noises,
Hmm.
like little monkey noises. Yeah.
Well, the English, it's not English. You know, like the secret to the search is that it's not English. No one's looking for more English.
Right.
Like no one's looking for more Russian, Chinese, Japanese, Spanish, Italian, alien, you know, etc. Like no one's looking for more noise.
Right. And then when you do see it, did you notice it's like a radio frequency in a way? You hit this beautiful station, and then maybe the next day you wake up and you're on this really bad station that's a lot noisier, and you didn't turn the dial. It's just you woke up and you wait, and you have to bring it. Now, would your method be don't bring it back, let it find its way back, or how do
Well,
you?
the changes in waking state aren't personal. So if I want to tinker with it, I can, but I don't have to, because the whole thing isn't actually personal.
Right.
This is the appearance of waking state is an appearance. So I can get involved in preferring different emotions and feelings, but I
Right.
don't have to, because it's still just waking state.
So just observe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or just, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if there's even an instruction,
Right.
right? Like, that's the tricky thing about waking state. It's like, well, yeah, it's just waking state.
And when you took the medicine, what did you take? And was it before the perfect sign or after?
Before and after.
Oh, both.
So it
And
was
did you have
psilocybin
one psilocybin?
and LSD and MDMA
Me
and
too.
mescaline.
I
Yeah.
never did that. That last one I
Yeah.
never did.
Yeah, that was, yeah, they're all interesting places to visit. Amazement parks, they're amazement parks.
Yes.
Yeah. So they're very beautiful, and I don't try to make conclusions from the experiences, because they end up just being memories. And this isn't a memory, so this is
Right.
as interesting as any of those states.
Yes.
The fact that I don't remember this, and that this is what's happening. And it has a vibrational quality to it too.
Yes.
Like the felt sense of being you, the felt sense of being me, the felt sense of whoever's listening, like that felt right, that felt sense is alive. And it's more alive than anybody can control, I think, in a certain way.
That was amazing.
Yeah, I didn't do it.
No.
But that letting it happen, that helps a lot.
Yeah.
Like, just let it happen.
So some advice would be let it happen, observe, don't identify with the distraction or the distortion. You're not that noise.
Just notice that you're listening. Like, keep it real
Just
simple.
notice. That's
Just notice
good.
that you're listening.
Right.
And that if you move, right, if the movement is I have to get up, well, check and make sure it's true. Right? Or
Wait,
I have to. I have to. Any kind of I
Right.
have to. Just
I
double
have to.
check the I have tos.
That's good.
Like, really double check them, because you might find like, no,
don't
that's
have
just
to.
it's just an opinion.
Right.
It might just be my opinion. I have to. Let me check and make sure I have to. I gotta move. I gotta move. I'll go crazy. I'll go,
Right.
like, or whatever. It's like, hold on, just check.
Yeah, just check.
Just look. Do you have to do anything?
I like that.
Well, it's that funny dance. Don't you find, like, you kind of just end up here at the edge of yourself anyway?
Yes.
So the idea that there's agency feels a little like silly in a certain way.
The
'Cause I'm
subtitle
not
of my first book is Astonishment at the Crumbling Edge of Reality. And it's every time you say it, I'm thinking exactly that. It's that
sweet.
edge, that it's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no blur.
And then so you did, I know Huxley did the mescaline. Did you find anything different from the three that you named? MDMA is so soft and loving. Did you find
Yeah,
it that way?
that feels other. That feels like a serotonin dose.
Yeah.
That's just like,
Did you do that
and also
alone or
no,
with?
the first time, I think 3 times total, and all times was with a partner.
Right. Total
Yeah.
love and yeah.
Oh yeah, we're gonna get married. Like, it was nonsensical after I look at it, but it's an amazing experience. It's actually
Yes.
cheating. It's kind of cheating,
All right.
because there's no way to maintain that kind of serotonin dose.
No, I'm
It's
trying.
impossible. Yeah, no, don't. I wouldn't try. I don't think it makes sense to try.
Yeah.
but love feels good. So that ends up
Yes.
being a sweet thing to feel. To really feel what it's like at that kind of like oversaturated level, it feels really
Yes.
delicious. Yeah.
MDMA mind or mushroom
Yeah.
mind. And then what was the mescaline like compared to that? Was it more like philosophical a little more? Yeah.
For me, psychological. So it was like a
Yeah.
year of therapy in 6 hours. I learned that I was an asshole. Right. Like that's what I learned on mescaline. I'm like, oh my God, I'm an asshole. Because all I heard was all the judgments I had of the world as I walked through the streets of Berkeley.
That's
Like,
great.
oh my
You're like,
God,
wow, look what I'm
oh
doing.
yeah, I'm just a dick. Like
Ah.
I'm judging everybody. And then getting into the listening, and it's like, oh well, that's not actually me. It's just a feature of the organism.
Yes.
Okay, well now I'm listening to the judgments, and then there's that little gap, and then the gap becomes happiness, and the
Ah.
gap is always happiness. I mean, happiness is
Yeah.
always, I'm not actually the noise.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
And did it slow the judgment, cut it in half or even more?
No, it was just like a spotlight on the judgments.
But what did you do the next week, judge or not judge?
I don't know. I just accepted the fact of feeling like I was an asshole. But I didn't try to change me or make it
No,
worse. You know what I mean? Like I didn't
right.
try to fix anything.
But
I
you were
just was like,
aware, oh
yeah,
boy,
I was
I'm a
aware of it.
judgmental guy. Yeah, what
Yeah,
am I doing?
yeah. And then over time, just learning to listen and not judge. But that's
Right.
something I work on every time. Like I have
Yeah.
bipolar 1, I go to support groups, I listen to the support groups, and I'm judging still. So it's
Right.
like some weeks I'm clear and everything's nice, and some weeks I'm just caught in that mode. But I'm not trying to fix it.
Right. I remember one thing you did that just came to mind, and I would have forgotten about it if you didn't just say what you said. You would, and I love this idea. I've never heard of anyone doing it, but you did it. And I loved it. You would just offer yourself to live with people and you would just, I could be wrong, but I think you did this. Like instead of a retreat with you would go to them
Mhm.
and live with them for a week or a month, and they'd get to observe you and you would interact with them. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I think ended up being like 26 different people,
Wow,
families or
that's a lot.
couples or individuals over the course of 5 years.
Wow.
And yeah, well, originally it's all different now because I had a psychotic experience and that changed my
Ah,
reliability on myself. So, but then I had this view that like you can either end up being the guy in the chair who's doing meetings and kind of at a distance from
right.
everybody, but then you have an inner circle, and it all felt like, oh,
You have
come
the
on.
flowers next to you in the picture and
Yeah, and then you have the 10 people that really you get to talk to, and then
right,
everybody else is projecting onto you and all that. So I was like, well, how do I avoid the whole thing? Well, let me just go actually be one-on-one or one-on-2 or
I
one-on-4
love that.
inside the world and do the daily life. And so
Yeah,
it was an incredible, beautiful adventure that people were very generous and kind and open to me being a part of that. And I could always look back and go, oh, I could have done this differently. I could have done that differently. I think I handled myself pretty well. I didn't make any glaring errors, but I could have been sober more than I was. I was drinking a bunch, and
right.
I wasn't very clear the way I feel now, like sober and clear. So, but it was an awesome adventure, and I feel unbelievably fortunate to have gone on it and to have met the people I met. And I made a deal that I
Sure.
wouldn't actually like turn it into a story or anything. So I
Right.
don't really want to talk about what happened so much as just say
Yeah,
that
yeah.
it was really great, and it was really other.
That's amazing. And it just
Yeah.
came to you thinking, I don't want to be the satsang guy in front of the
Right.
room.
Exactly.
That's
Well,
great.
it also came from a line Byron Katie has, which is
Ah,
you can learn to live without preferences.
ah,
So then I thought, well, how can I find out if this is true? Well, let me go inside people's worlds. And I'll eat what they feed me, I'll sleep where they tell me to sleep,
yes.
I'll do the chores, I'll help with whatever, but I won't care. And I found that it's true to a degree, and then something inside was like, I want my own life back. And
Right, right.
traveling got tiring, and I didn't want to be in that state, but I learned what I could learn, which is it's possible. If I want to do it, I can do it.
And you did 5 years.
Yeah, well, yeah, off and on. I was in a relationship at the time too, so I traveled and then I'd come back and travel and go back. And
That's hard. Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. No, it was great. It was all wonderful. It's all gone. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
hilarious idea.
And was that like after 2015, 2013,
That
2014?
was 2011 to 2015.
Wow. Okay.
In 2015, I got hit by a car while I was skateboarding, and I
I
kind of lost
remember
my
that.
future. Yeah, I lost my future. So I just, ever since
Right.
then, I haven't really had a future, and it's kind of hard to imagine a future.
What do you think about uh like I've been revisiting the Christian mystics, and I was an atheist for so many years, and so it's fun to go back and see what I took wrong, or and I love the idea of the lily and the bird, like where Jesus says, everything will be taken care of once you settle into this, and it's a very tricky thing. Do you feel like the more you're away from that distortion and in some kind of harmony, or get in that, like you call it, the gap, or where you get in that sweet spot, do you feel like, I don't know how to word it, is it a cosmic law? I mean, that everything is taken care of and you'll be okay? I mean, you live with these
No.
random people for 5 years. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but I don't know. I don't think everything gets taken care of. I think in the end, life's pretty pragmatic.
Yeah.
Like there's chemical engineering, we kind of have to pay attention to that. In waking state, there's a kind of physics we have to pay attention to.
Right.
We can't walk through walls, we can't breathe underwater,
No,
we
no.
can't just make things magically appear. We can do it in the dream state, but not in
Right.
this state. So
Right.
I think here it's like it's really helpful to be real pragmatic about everything, like food, water, shelter. I'm
Yeah.
not homeless by the grace of my family. I was homeless and they
You
helped me.
talked
I
a
got
lot about that too.
well,
Yeah.
yeah, I just very helpful. So I'm in the situation I'm in by the virtue of the community's kindness.
Yes.
And that's and it's a mutual exchange, and I'm
Yes.
helpful, which is very important to me. But I'm not. There's no magical manifesting, is my point. It's all just real people making real choices and real decisions in real time.
Right. And so you're saying, I'm trying to think of like the Course in Miracles. I don't know where you are with that, but
Hmm,
they'll say
I
things
don't know
like
it very
drop
well.
it all, like let it go, and
Hmm.
just follow Jesus, or whatever word you want to use
Sure.
for that, and it'll all be fine. And then they do it and they wind up broke, and they have no
Yeah.
job, and it's
Right.
bad and it's not
Right.
good. And they go, well, keep going, and they're like, yeah, but I can't afford food. I have no job. I have no car.
Yeah.
Why isn't it working?
Yeah. I kind of lean towards like Marcus Aurelius and
Yeah.
Epictetus. Like be a good citizen, follow the
Love that.
duties that make sense to do, pay attention to the neighbors. Like it's a
Yes.
communal experience to be alive. And you can be a monastic, like you can
Yeah.
go off into desert fathers or Thai
Love
forest
that.
monks or whatever.
Yeah.
That's an option, but it's not an option for everyone. And so if you find yourself in the world, then you do the world as best as you can. But I don't think any of this is easy. It's very easy to say. It's not very easy to do because no
So
one's
easy
ever
to
done this
say.
before.
Yeah.
Well, it comes back to here we are at the edge of our knowledge. I'm supposed to know about this, and I can't know about it. And then I'm supposed to, as a prediction machine, I'm supposed to guess my own future to find out if I'm safe. I can't do that either.
One of
So
one of my favorite lines is the delusion that knowledge is not a delusion is the greatest delusion of all. What?
the delusion that knowledge is not a delusion is the greatest delusion.
The greatest delusion of all.
Yeah,
I
I
think
don't
it's
know.
talking about pure being rather than, being over knowing. I don't know.
Sure, no, I don't either.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know how the words are. The words are the
I
words,
know.
and then you know the whole thing is beyond the words. So
Yes. It's
okay, as
so
long
tough
as
because we want to talk it and write it,
yeah, we love
and
it.
we know we cannot talk it and write it. So it's the funniest. That's why we, all right, roll
All right,
it, roll it.
here we go. Here we go. It's R again.
R again. I picked Randy. You can go with this one.
Recollection, remembrance, reminiscence, memory, retrospection.
Recollect. And you said
Rec-
there is none.
Recollection. Well, we have memories, but we don't have a memory of where we are.
Of where we are. We
because
have memories, but
we're
where we are.
not of this. We don't have a
Yeah,
memory of
because
this.
what is this?
Exactly. I have no idea.
Where are we?
Right. I could throw a language at it all day.
Should we try? That's easy for you to say. What was that?
I don't know. What is it? What is the sound doing that it's something finally instead of nothing?
Oh, you're just letting out what, like an automatic language? You must have loved I think it was Tristan Tazara did when Dali was doing those surreal paintings, he said, let's pull the words out like what you're doing, and we'll put the words in the hat and we'll just write a poem by pulling. So beautiful. Let it, get out of the way and just pull it out.
Well, the more random, the better, like, because then it's out. Well, it's outside of my preferences. I just rolled an S, stamp, impression, symbol, device, seal, trademark, brand, wafer, label, kind, sort, quality. Ooh, quality, quantity. You know what's something useful and maybe to point out is that you can't quantify meditation.
Can you explain that?
Yeah, so you can never do 30 minutes of meditation. It's impossible.
And in the beginning, and you might have done it, I did it, I would brag. I did 2 hours, I did 4, I did 5.
Set the timer. It's an athletic event, but you
Yes.
never actually move. Like you never fundamentally move. So that's a really useful pointer, I think, is,
That's
oh my
good.
gosh, if I'm going to keep numbers going, make sure I also do it without the numbers.
Right.
If you're going to meditate and time it, make sure you meditate and don't time it, because that really is juice.
I'm going to add that to, I made up Plath math for my last name, and it's just perfect. This, and I'll add that to it. That's perfect. Yeah, it's just that or this.
There you go.
This. Yeah. No division.
Or isn't this the original alphabet? These things were the very first letters were probably the hands.
They were. You're right.
Gesture as the language. Because
Yeah.
the chimps, the chimps.
I love the chimp.
Yeah. Chimp Empire. I watched that recently. I loved it.
And the bonobo.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
They're having fun. Yeah. Yeah.
It hit me the other day. I used to be so serious about Darwin and get very into the science of evolution and loved. I mean, it was everything to me. Everything was that, and Carl Sagan and Isaac, because I couldn't see anything beyond that. And now I start to think about evolution, and I'm like, wait, where are the monkeys? And we just have to get out of the monkey mind and wake up to non-conceptual space. But where are the monkeys? And there's monkeys.
Yeah. No, yeah.
Yeah.
Right, like these guys. But the bodies are the monkeys. Like I'm not the body.
Right.
I don't know what I am, but I know that I'm not this because this was once 2 feet tall. And its future is to be dust.
Right.
So whatever's talking can't actually be limited to some kind of structure of waking state.
That's really great what you just said, because so much suffering is thinking we are the body. I thought I was the body. And it's great when you're younger, if you're healthy, it's great. You don't think about it. The body's great. But as you get a little older, you start to go, wait a minute, this thing is slowing down a little bit.
Yeah.
And you better not be the body.
Yeah, or you better do the yoga.
Yes. Did you get into a yoga a stage?
Yeah, when I was 19, I went to Shivananda, and they're kind of like a yoga school around the country, around the world, and that gave me a kind of baseline practice that I pretty much did for a long time. And then I got into Ashtanga for a little while, and I was in San Francisco, and I did a little teaching and blah blah blah. But now I do it kind of like I found Buto. Do you know Buto?
No.
It's a Japanese form of dance that is in reaction to the traditional form. And so it's more awkward and it's skeletal, and I don't know.
Ah,
I mean, you kind of explore falling apart and
almost
the
like a wabi-sabi yoga, like a,
yeah.
oh, that's amazing.
Well,
I
it's
never
like
even
I think
heard
of
of
it as
that.
how like Halloween yoga. Like if Tim Burton was going to design yoga, Butoh is that expression. So
Wow.
it's very beautiful and very fun, and it
Can you
changes every
spell it? B,
Utoh.
okay, Buto. That's great.
Yeah, it's super fun because it's a playful space that has no choreography.
Amazing.
It's like meditation in that you're exploring it live as you do it. So it's very improvisational and very other.
While you talk about it, I'm thinking of that quote from the Dhammapada that you're just a painted puppet that
Mm.
is going to fall apart. You know, that exactly that. And
Well,
that's what it
how
is.
does it do it? Well, how does
Yeah,
it do it? You know, like how is it doing it? It's a
right.
miracle.
That's what, remember, when I first read the Upanishads or the Gita, I think it was the Upanishads. There was a great intro and it talked about the Ganga River
Mm.
and in the forest thousands of years ago, these forest people would get together, and what you're saying hits me. They would talk about, how did I just raise my hand?
Mm.
Like, how did that happen? And that was like a year. How did that happen? You know? Yeah,
Well, it's
amazing.
the astonishment of being.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
That's a good word, astonishment.
yeah, it's really good.
That's really good.
It's really good.
So what's a day in the life of Benjamin now? I know you used to walk the dogs or do something with the, I know you love nature and animals and
Mm.
getting out there. What's a day? Give me a day.
Um, well, you're looking at it, so this is where it gets funny,
Ah,
right? Like I can tell you what happened so far.
yes.
This morning was wake up, make the bed, make coffee, check emails.
I like you
It,
say make the bed, like you make the bed, you don't just leave it. You
no, well, yeah, I know I sleep on the floor. Like this is the mattress turned up so I can lean against it.
oh
And
yeah, yeah.
I trained myself to sleep on the floor so I could sleep anywhere
I
because it's
love it.
easier that way than having like mattress dependency. And so then I put the blankets and the sheet that I sleep on away.
Put it away, make it
That's
nice.
make the bed, right? And
And
then go
right there,
stay.
do you feel like some kind of alignment or harmony, or do you put on a little beautiful music? Do you make
Oh,
coffee?
I ring a bell and I put on my robes and then I do my mantra and then no, I'm
Oh,
kidding. I don't. I just put the bed away. I just put the
right.
bed away. But
Because do you ever hear Joel Goldsmith? Does that ring a bell?
I know the name, but I don't know much about what he
He was
said.
a Christian mystic. His way was called the Infinite Way, but he was really good. And he said you can make your bed in heaven or you can make your bed in hell.
Mm,
And I like that kind of, you can make your bed angry, in this, or you can make it in, you can sleep in
mhm.
heaven or sleep in hell. It's up to.
Yeah. There's a folding the sheet moment where I like that the corners no, that I like that the corners line up and it's a straight
Yes.
sheet. Yeah, that feels fun as part of the ritual of the morning, but I don't think
Yeah.
I'm focusing on it. Like it's not,
Right.
it has to be perfect, like it's not like
It's
that.
intuitive. You're just doing it.
Yeah,
And
well
then what's next after the bed?
usually then coffee and then check the emails and
Right.
then I found this musician named Justin Johnson. He plays like dark swamp blues, like oh, I can't even do it, but your face does this, like when you're listening to him play, it's just,
Yeah, real
and
nitty
so
gritty. Yeah.
yeah, just like syrupy slide guitar. So I've been
He's
listening
singing
to
or
him.
just instrumental?
No, instrumentals. I
I
can't
love
listen
it.
to lyrics. Yeah, I don't listen to lyrics because they give me
Me
messages.
either. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I don't
yeah.
want,
I love
I
instrumental.
don't need more messages. Yeah, instrumental is amazing.
Enough with the words, right?
Well, I used to have trouble with thoughts that took over, etc. So I don't listen to lyrics, but I do listen to instrumental, and he's been really fun. So I listened to him this morning, and then I took a 3 mile walk, which is the usual,
Right.
and just try to stroll. Not try to exercise, but actually try to be on the planet and enjoy the
Yeah.
planet. And I have to deal with my nervous system. The animal is so nervous of the T-Rex that's behind the trees. So it's like trying to take a walk, but it's constantly running some of the adrenals. And it's like, come on, slow down. And, it's
Right.
really funny to be a creature on the planet. because it's not relaxing at all. It's really nerve-wracking.
It's like a squirrel always looking around.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I'm trying to
And
like
are you
calm it
also
down.
observing? Is it beautiful nature? Do you see squirrels and birds and things
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
walk?
There's
Yeah,
like it's like a real nice city that has lots of nature, but also there's cars and roads.
right.
So it's California, Southern California. So it's, you know,
Yeah.
Spanish style roofs, palm trees, 150,000 people, but also like big long sidewalks with nobody on them because everybody's driving, and it's like a private world for me to walk around in. So it's
My
pretty nice
favorite
out here.
band is from Southern California, Van Halen.
Oh, all right.
And Eddie Van Halen said something you might like. He said he always wanted to, he's always fighting with the singers, and David Lee Roth, you know, he was fighting with them, and he said music, if you think music without lyrics isn't good, tell that to Beethoven and he'll kick your ass. And I love that. And you know, no words, just that pure vibration.
Yeah. Well, I like what Yuji Krishnamurti said, where he's like, music is bullshit.
I didn't know he said that.
Oh man, that's brilliant.
He was something.
He was so fun.
That guy, I bought a videotape like way before YouTube when you had to buy VHS and they were like $80 or something for a, and I bought it from like Minnesota to New York. They delivered it, and it was Krishnamurti. I think it was called Die Before You Die. And he was sitting on his hands because they were shaking. He was probably 90, you know, and a beautiful talk about Die Before You Die. Amazing. And I just watched that face, and but I was an atheist and I couldn't hear the whole spiritual part, but it spoke to me somehow. I knew something was there.
When did it change in your world?
When you're gonna love this, when so Randy, the amazing Randy, was a Houdini successor, big magician, $1 million offered to anybody who can do real magic, just, you know, very out there, big showman. And I met another guy who was my idol since I was 15, at the same, another hero in magic named Paul Harris. He was like the Eddie Van Halen of sleight of hand and cards and coins, and do 4 coins over his finger. He was amazing and way out there. And he would always leave little hints about mushrooms and philosophy and mysticism, but I couldn't, and astonishment. And when I met with him, he told me while we went to dinner after a lecture he did, and when he knew I was a Randy student, he invited me to the dinner. It was just me, him, and the owner of the magic shop. And he was eating my food. He'd reach over and take my pork chop. Yeah, so loose. And he said, the funny thing about Randy, and I said, what? And he said, is he's not skeptical enough. And I said, he's the godfather of the skeptic. It's the biggest skeptic since Voltaire. What are you talking about? And he said, he believes in matter. Like he thinks this is it, that this is it. There's no more. And that stuck with me. And it took years. And he finally said, all right, you're doing it wrong. Go inside. This whole world is like a dream. Just go inside. You're looking out in university and books, and I meditated and I learned that neti, you know, that neti, you know, not this, not that. And that's all I knew, not this, not that. And I did that and popped into, I thought I was dying, and I popped into this without any psychedelic, just popped into it in 2009. And then I matched it again in 2013 with MDMA and silent darkness, like Terrence McKenna taking MDMA, and total quiet, and it matched. And then LSD, like you, and then I felt like I understood the Godhead, like if you, or Brahman, like LSD was made MDMA look like kindergarten, you know, like Pez, LSD, and that was it. And then tried to make it baseline over the years. So that's what flipped it though. Another magician saying, this is all an illusion.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
I like
Really
these stories.
wild.
Well, I like these stories because nobody can replicate them. right? Like you can't replicate what happens to somebody else, but
Right.
we can hear it enough. Kind of like I like Pez. Pez is a funny idea. Like we can hear it like it's a cartoon, like we're
Yes.
watching Popeye or we're watching, a little Flintstones.
Right. Like I
So
watched you in a couple of when I were you on a second story, or is that in my mind? Is
yeah,
that
yeah, no, I was.
I remember the second story and I forgot about the God, the way you said it. Can you do it again? Yeah, that it was so beautiful. Do you know Stephen Wright, the comedian?
Yes.
He does a little piece. He did a little short film about a guy who's condemned to death. It's like 20 minutes. Very funny, set in Russia, like in the 1800s. And he has the what is it? The thing that shows the time and you with the
Yeah.
sand
Yeah.
hourglass, and he's
Yeah.
going to die in the morning. He's reflecting, but he it reminded me of you. He said once in a while I would go to church, but I couldn't go in. Like I couldn't. So he'd stand outside and you'd see him step up to the outside window and he'd just say, "Hey, God, are you there?" Like, would you, God, is that you? And that's what it sounded like when you said it up on that second story.
Well, it was so, yeah. I mean, it's still the answer.
Yeah.
Your face is the answer.
Yes. Wait, can you go into that a little bit?
No, I can't.
Come on. Put a crowbar in that.
I can't make your face and your coffee mug more coffee mug or more face.
Can I ask you the difference between faith used to bother me a lot as an atheist. Like I thought blind faith, but the difference between the word faith to you and trust, is there any difference? Are they the same? One starts with an F.
Trust implies risk.
What?
Yeah, right. There you go. Well, trust implies risk.
Yes.
So the
What about
question
faith
is,
though?
well, before we get there, is there any risk?
You're asking me?
Yeah. Well, just for us to explore it. Like we can
Yeah.
explore it live. Like we don't know anything. So now
Yeah.
let's look at risk. Is there a risk?
In being in going within?
In
I'd say
anything that's
yes,
happening,
yes. There's a
what's
risk.
the risk? What's the risk?
You might find out that you were totally wrong, and you might find out this amazing astonishment that you were 100% wrong. Everything's inside out, and so you're risking being wrong. Maybe I mean that's just the first thing. I think yeah, you're risking being wrong. You're risking losing what you thought was you, the false you, and trading it for something that's always there and so beautiful and loving. But wrong, I think, for a skeptic, I had to risk being wrong, and I hated that because I thought I was so right about everything. I thought I knew everything. I thought the scientists were right about everything, and I had mountains of evidence against the faith, this little faith, this invisible faith. So maybe that's you motherfucker.
It's great. This book is so beautiful because she goes into why it hurts to be wrong.
That was I'm done with magic. I retire, and that's it right there. You just did it. You just pulled the rabbit right out of the hat.
Well, it's nice to be wrong.
Oh, it's so good. It's the best.
I want to be right about certain things, but I don't know how much of that I get to be right about.
It's good to be wrong
but being
about
wrong,
death.
Well, death doesn't feel real.
Right, but it used to.
That just doesn't. Yeah.
For a
but it never
skeptic
felt like an
atheist, it felt like
experience.
the realest thing that there was, and anything else felt unreal. But that was like for me the realest thing, even though I had no idea what I was talking about.
Yeah, I can't ever. When I tried to think about it as a kid, I just couldn't imagine it.
Did you have a fear of death?
I assume I did, but I don't have a memory of it at present.
I had
because it
like a
always, it never made
library of
sense.
death books, like all about, like, I mean, a bigger library than most people's regular libraries, and it was all, I had other books, but the death library was Denial of Death and all the,
Oh yeah,
you know that book? That's one of
yeah,
my
yeah, yeah,
favorite books of all time,
yeah,
you know. And
yeah.
I was a
Heck yeah,
big Woody Allen fan, and it was all about, death. And I'm not afraid of dying. I just don't want to be there when it happens. And then I
yeah,
would
yeah.
hear things like Raymond Smullyan, that philosopher that was up in the mountains, and he'd look at me and he'd say, "I'm not afraid." He was 97 when he died, and he said, "I'm not
Mm,
afraid of dying. I'm not going to be there when it happens." And that
right.
would,
Well,
I would
that's
think it's
yeah.
bullshit somehow, but it still
Mm,
went in me. Like he got
mm,
me, but somehow it didn't get me totally. But I knew it stayed with me, whatever
mm.
that is, as like a seed or something.
Yeah. Well, that I'm not going to be there when it happens was always my sense of it.
Yeah,
Like as a kid, I remember I had an animal die, and I was like, remember watching it and being like, oh, well, it's not, whatever the light is that is the apparent
yeah,
personality or persona, whatever's apparently talking, that can't actually die, and it's not contained within the body.
right.
So it just feels
I
like the
I
body
couldn't
falls
grasp
over,
that though. I
but death
thought,
can't actually
yeah,
happen. Yeah.
I didn't get that.
Mm.
I said it's all going, lights out, it's over. It was bad.
Yeah. Right.
And then
Well,
so I wonder, maybe that makes it even more astonishing when you see, for you, maybe it's astonishing because but death wasn't so bad. But for me, death was so bad that when I saw like when you put the hand in the sock and you pull it and it goes inside out, when the whole world went
yeah. Yeah.
around, I went, holy fuck, holy, 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 holy. It was mind
Yeah.
blowing. Was it mind blowing
Right.
for you, or a little more like, oh, like good?
Well, I was so young. I was really
Ah,
young. So I don't remember it blowing my mind as much as being like obvious.
right.
Like it's obvious that I'm not going to be there. But it's
Yes.
obvious in that way then that it doesn't happen.
Right. Right. That's such a beautiful. I would never understand that in my 20s, what you just said, but it's so true. I wrote a line in a book, and you might agree. I said something like that. I said, the first thing that happens when you die is you realize you're still here.
Mm.
What?
Well, I like what Ramana says it very beautifully when people are
Yes.
worrying about him dying. He
Yes.
says, "Where could I go?
Where can I go? Right.
Where
They
can
were
I
all
go?"
crying.
Yeah.
Yeah, where am
And
I
that feels
going?
really like that feels like where could anything actually go if waking state itself is a dream?
Yes. Or like Rumi would say, there's no only for people who love with their eyes, there's separation. But if you love with your heart, or your,
Mm.
there is no separation.
Yeah. Separation, it can't be true.
No, it's impossible.
And and I can't feel your pain.
You can't feel another's
I
pain.
Yeah, like I can't feel from body to body, I can't actually feel body sensations.
Right,
So in waking state, there's a separation from between the bodies, which is very useful because you wouldn't want to feel everyone's pain.
right.
But then
Yes,
waking state is a non-separate phenomenon.
yes.
Oh, okay. So the bodies end up being vehicles instead of actual entities.
Do you do anything when you had your first glimpse or realization? Did you do anything since then to try to maintain it, or do you just kind of just sit back and let it come and go, the way the Maharaj would say, it's like two shores and you go from here and you go to here? Is there any
I don't
maintenance?
well, I don't experience anything to maintain. So I don't understand what do you mean
Meaning,
maintain?
like, I found, I glimpsed it, and a week later it felt like it wasn't there, and like I lost it. Even though you can't lose it, I felt like I lost it. And I think a lot of
Mm.
seekers feel that kind of thing, and then they're like, wait, I lost it.
Right.
and they might beat themselves up over losing it at that moment instead of realizing you can't lose it. You're just imagining that you're not there.
Well, the preference ends up being a kind of confusion. If I prefer to feel good as if that's a continual experience indefinitely, I'm going to struggle.
Right.
Because struggle is the continual experience.
Oh, I like that. You flipped it.
Because the physiology, like again, go for a walk and walk around in the world of the T-Rex, and it's just there's going to be agitation and anxiety by virtue of being alive.
Right.
So the hunt for permanent feels good is itself agitation.
Right. Would
So
that
then it's
be,
like, oh well, then don't care about it.
Someone said, might have been Ramana, I think it was the Maharaj, the knowing that there is no permanent enlightenment is the enlightenment. Sort of what you're saying, sort of like
Sure.
letting go of
Yeah.
trying to maintain this 100% at mushroom
Yeah,
mind
yeah.
or MDMA mind is
Right.
it, because then you could settle into all of it and it could just come and go and
Mhm.
yeah.
Well, it is coming and going. It's as
Yeah, it is.
spontaneous as the conversation. Right?
Right.
Like the conversation is spontaneous for both of us. And we're never at a different location than this spontaneity.
Right.
So the idea that I have to maintain what is already the case, that's confusion.
Right.
I don't have to maintain this at all
You're
because
trying to
it's waking and
control.
dreaming in deep
It's a
sleep.
control, sort of.
Well, it's a preference. Yeah, it's just a preference.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, I have a preference for feeling a certain way. And it's like,
Right.
I mean, I think
Because
it makes sense to,
yeah.
yeah. It makes sense to behave in such a way that you avoid jails, hospitals, and homelessness. But other than that,
Right.
and even there, you can argue, hey,
No,
maybe
you
that's an
couldn't.
adventure to go on. But other than that, it seems like, it's not that complicated of a riddle.
Right.
Like just
So
be a good
would you
citizen
say
and
to someone
play the
who
game of waking state.
would you say to someone who maybe was struggling with that, just what would you say, just ease up a little, like acceptance? What's the trying to
Struggling with
think,
what?
struggling with they think that enlightenment is only bliss, maybe, or
Okay,
yeah,
so when it comes to enlightenment, I don't know about enlightenment other
right,
than to understand the Buddha's recipe. So
yeah.
the Buddha's recipe, the 7 factors of enlightenment, to me, that's a countenance. So
I
if
don't
I'm
know if I know
enlightened
them.
in the,
I know the noble truths and
well,
the
it's just,
eightfold path.
yeah, I sum it up as awake, alert, alive, relaxed, curious, happy, calm.
Oh, I like
So
that.
to me, if I'm in that countenance, if I'm presenting that way, as if I can do that continuously, well, then seemingly an outsider could say, oh, look, they're in the recipe. But my experience is that I can't maintain that continuously. So I couldn't possibly be enlightened. That's not true, according to the Buddha's recipe.
Right.
I have my own sense of just letting it all go, and I'm not trying to control too much of it. So I don't have I'm not suffering right now anyway. But I will struggle, I assume, again after this, because
And
that's the
why do
nature
you
of
think,
not.
like, if struggling came in, is it because you're doing something?
No, because that's the nature of the beast.
Right. And
Yeah.
when that struggle comes, would you say to someone, accept it, or to try to remember who they are and everything's okay, or
Or hit the refrigerator with a baseball bat, or watch out and go for a run and scream your head off,
yeah,
or
right,
like go into the walk-in freezer and like, I don't know. I have no instruction when it comes to what's
right,
not happening, right? Because we're still here in the spontaneity of it, and then we're bringing in these sort of linguistic examples, but we're just talking, and so it gets really tricky, but in a beautiful way,
yes,
right? Like
yes,
I'm not suffering at the present moment, so that's it. This is as not suffering as it gets right now.
right.
But I don't have control over where I'm not, so I can't refer to it.
Yeah, we don't
Really.
know. But wouldn't you
Yeah,
say
no, it's
it's a
impossible.
remembering of who you are, or remembering who you're not? One of those two.
No.
Um,
Yeah,
no.
I think in the end it's no, I think it's a disappointing reality in that there isn't an instruction.
Ah, you said no instruction?
Yeah, like there isn't actually an instruction for this. because it's already the colors and the sounds are already the case. The sensations are already the case, and then the preference is already the case. So there isn't even like don't have a you know what I mean? Like there's nothing to say about it.
Right, right,
because it's happening spontaneously.
right. So no advice.
Yeah, I don't have any I could say other than do what
Yeah,
you want and trust yourself, like trust
I like
yourself
that. That's something.
and trust the
Trust your
silence.
trust your intuition. Ah, yes, 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 yes. So you recommend silence as a tool.
No, I recommend realizing that's who you are.
Ah, it's even better. I love it. And how often are you in this state of astonishment and happiness?
Wait, but what do you mean by often?
What do I mean by often?
Yeah, what do you mean
How
by often?
how
Oh, there
yeah,
we
I
go.
need a new word.
No, it's awesome. Are you trying to quantify it?
I might be. Yeah, I
Maybe.
think I am.
All right, don't do that.
Don't do that. I'm just thinking of how amazing this advanced astonishment state is. Like I think of, do you remember Lewis Thomas? Do you remember that guy?
No.
He wrote The Lives of a Cell and The Medusa and the Snail. He was a just wonderful biologist, just a great guy. I don't think he was mystical. He was just a great scientist, really wonderful. But he said this one thing about astonishment. He said he didn't know this was in the 70s, and he was studying a cell. He wrote The Lives of a Cell, and he said, we don't know in a cell, there's like a switch in a cell. This is Lewis Thomas. There's a switch, and one cell out of all the cells gets told, or something, we didn't know the mechanism, that it's going to be the brain, or it's going to be the heart, and it's a big thing, like click, and it must be in the DNA, and we can go further. But he didn't get mystical, and he said, we don't know that switch. And he was maybe 60 when he wrote it or something. And he said, if we find out that switch in my lifetime, I will hire a fleet of skywriting planes and send them up in the air to write one exclamation point after another in the sky until all my money runs out.
Mm.
And I just think of that. That's how I feel.
That's a good visual of astonishment.
Yes, that's it. Yeah, yes.
Like
In the sky.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
and then it goes away. Yep.
Right. Yeah, perfect.
Should we roll the dice?
Sure. I was just thinking of the riddle of quantification. Like that's one of the tricks.
Yeah, yeah.
Like the minute I try to give it dimension, now I've already distorted it. So I got to watch out for the quantification of anything.
Yeah.
Because I'm doing that where all the vectors apparently start.
And you grabbed that word often fast. You were like, wait, did you just say often?
Well, because I listen for quantity.
Yeah,
because then I know, okay, don't do that. Because I do it for my, like, I don't want to do quantity here either.
So don't try to quantify it.
So we're rolling and we got
measure it. It's almost like the Heisenberg principle. Don't try to measure the atom. When you try to measure a certain particle, it throws it off. You can't quantify, you can't measure it. You can't.
Right, or the Heisman Trophy.
I love that.
Just
yeah, it's doing this. Keep it
right.
away.
Heisenberg and Heisman together, and you're set.
That's it.
I did roll, and we got O.
Oh.
So it's your turn for O.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Oh my God. Oh my me. Oh, there's
Oh,
probably an obvious one. Obvious. Obvious. Like the glasses on my face. Like the
right.
headphones on your head.
Like the face on the space.
Closer to you than breathing.
Mm.
What do you think of Meister Eckhart when he says the eye that God looks at me is the same eye that I look at God? My eye and God's eye are one eye, one looking, one seeing, one love.
I think it's beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm a David Hume fan. When it comes to
Oh,
vision, I think we have to discard vision.
yeah.
So even metaphors related to vision, that ends up being a
Oh,
kind of like ableistic angle, and which is fine. Of course we can see, but we don't want to equate the truth with vision because they don't have anything to do with each other.
right.
Right? Like in the dark, the truth is still the case.
Right.
So I don't want to get too much into visual metaphors if
So
I can help it.
third eye, no good.
Yeah, whatever. There's a
That's
little pressure in the forehead, you get some pressure in the forehead and you
right.
can feel the edge of yourself growing, but other than that.
I like that you're redefining the language because that's so important. I get locked into language, I'm
Me too.
trying to write
Yeah.
about this all the time, and you get, and all of a sudden it becomes hard, and it's an image, and it's graven, and you're caught. It's not living, it's not burning, it's not the living truth. Then you get caught in this metaphor or
Mm.
something. It happens all the time.
Yeah, well, as a writer, I mean, we kind of have to use the alphabet as it's designed to be used. Yeah, so but there's that funny joke, as a writer, is that you're never going to say what you were here for.
Thanks a lot.
Uh,
I never heard
no,
that.
no, I don't mean you specifically.
No, it's everyone.
Yeah, well, yeah. It's every writer in the world is going to whisper off into the void, and that's it, like.
Oh, I love that. It's perfect.
Well, it's depressing if you're a writer.
Eddie Van Halen again said he was always chasing the sound in his head. It was sound, and he never could get it. That's that carrot. You're always going. Never could get it on record. Never could record what I think most filmmakers would say, that at the end of a film, it's not quite what it's close sometimes, but it's not what they envision. It's never
Right. It's like a tattoo.
Do you have any of those?
Yeah,
Oh, that's right.
but I mean, like
that's right.
you get one, and it's not exactly what you saw. Like for me, it wasn't exactly what I saw. So you learn to love the one you get.
Ah, that would be a good
like
song.
Love the one you get. I think that's
Love
already
the one you're with.
Yeah, there we go. Love the one you're with. Do, 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 do. Oh no, that's not it.
That was a big one.
Love
Do
the
you
one
know
you're
Fred Lamont, the poet Fred Lamont?
I saw him in your conversations with him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Would you like to hear? I could do a little poem and watch your face while.
All right,
Ready?
go for it. Yeah.
Here we go. Oh, you can't do that.
Why? Because then I can feel it first.
Okay. I am the day star floating in the blues. There's the blues, Benjamin. I am the day star floating in the blues, 2 inches in front of your solar plexus. When it gets soft enough, your exhalation fathoms my vast sky. No effort, no image, nothing to believe. Benjamin would say nothing to quantify. Just dissolve the concept of distance. The sun that rises in the east, sets in the west, is only the mist of breathing on the mirror-like awareness. The radiance is less than 1/1,000,000th of the width of a hair beneath this thought. If you want to heal the earth or gently massage the ointment of peace into the wound of God, then bask in who you are. Okay, you can come back. pretty good. He tries to write it.
Yeah, like the Rumi Hafiz,
Yes. You love them
Meister
both?
Eckhart.
Yes.
Yeah, just all the folks that have tried to take and
That.
turn it into something, you know, like it's really a beautiful effort.
Do you ever
Because
think of writing a book, or I know
no,
you'll do videos, but no book?
yeah, I like writing, but I've never had the interest, I guess, to write a book. It just,
One of
I
my
think it would
favorite
happen.
things that you do, that people can add you on Facebook when you do what, you pop in and out of there, but you'll do these really, the ego will not like these quotes, and they'll be by like Roshi Bum, what is it? Uh Funny names, like they're made up masters. And if you don't look
Yeah.
close enough, it looks like a real quote from a master, but it's always a really funny name, and but a uh potent little gem of an idea. I love them.
Cool.
What is some of the name? Roshi
Roshi Endless Bummer, Swami Not So Fast,
Swami Not So
Beekaboo,
Fast.
Rabbi Bye, Pastor Present, Reverend Overend. I mean, you just, just
These are
playing with
great.
them all. They're just fun. It's fun.
I didn't know Pastor President.
Yeah, Pastor Present's great.
That's great.
He's like a desert father, but he lives in the world.
I love the Desert Fathers.
Yeah, me too. They're very something else.
Did Thomas Merton play any role with you?
I read Seven Story Mountain in 1996, maybe.
Yeah. Oh,
And
wow.
then only recently I looked up some of his stuff again on solitude, because I spend a lot of time alone.
He wrote a
And
lot.
it's just like, yeah, he wrote a lot, and it's really helpful just to hear about other people wandering through the world in introverted states.
Yes.
It's funny to need inspiration as an introvert, like it's kind of like, oh, I hope to find somebody else who will stay
Let
away
me find
from
another
me.
introvert. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I think he called Solitude Professor, like, oh, Professor Solitude.
Oh, that's awesome.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
There's
played a
something.
big role, because my mom, when I was a skeptical atheist, she was more of a mystical Christian that I couldn't buy. I just thought she was a nice lady, so loving, but yeah, she's lucky, she's loving, but she just believes in these fables and fantasies and lullabies. I couldn't understand. And she always talked about this weird radical monk named Thomas Merton that got electrocuted. And I imagined it was like a electric, like a
Radio.
yeah, I thought it was like a light, a telephone pole or something came down with but it was a radio.
I think a
It was
radio fell into a
a
bathtub.
fan.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And she would talk about this monk, and as soon as she said that a lot of the Christians didn't like him, I said, oh, maybe I'll. And when she died, I dove into Merton head first, like all the way in, and filled my bed with Merton books from Amazon, and it was the greatest journey.
That's
really
awesome.
good.
It's funny if you have any canonical exposure, right? Like you've been exposed to the literature.
Yeah.
Right. I've been exposed to the literature. I exposed myself along the way to the literature. And that has its own kind of, damn, I wish I'd never done that.
Were you raised in some kind of church or anything? Were you raised?
There was a little bit of church as a kid, and then there was more as a teenager, and then there was none for a while. And then yeah, now I visit, my parents go to an online church and I go with them.
Oh, that's great.
Because they have a little house out in the desert, so they go to that church when it's time. But then if they're not out there, we all watch church. And I listen, and I have different views, but I don't disagree with all of it. Like I think the whole thing is a beautiful endeavor in a way, to try to put this to words, which is all it is. It's a book club in the end.
Yeah.
And so that effort is beautiful. That I don't know if it's possible to put it into words, but it's an effort that gets made every week by everybody.
Yeah.
In religious circles anyway, in all the different religions, there's an attempt to say something.
Yes.
And finally, maybe nothing can be said, but the attempt is really elegant.
Right. One of my favorite stories was a shepherd taking care of the sheep, and one of the sheep, there was a hole in the fence, and so the shepherd saw the hole and the sheep was gone, and shepherd went into town and stayed kind of cool looking for the sheep, and the fun of finding the sheep, and it found it, and the shepherd carried the sheep back. And the killer part of the story for me was the shepherd put the sheep back with the other sheep, but never repaired the hole.
Mm.
And I love that you need the hole, it's like this beautiful get lost, and you're the shepherd or the sheep. Merton said it nicely once. He said, I'm a wild sheep or something who's in love with thorns and brambles, and I'm always caught in the fences, and I'm a wild sheep, but I've been found, and the important thing is to stay found. Like, you found me, now I have to stay found somehow, even though I get caught. You read Seven Story Mountain, that whole, he's been through a lot, and just somehow stay found. That hit me.
Yeah.
I'm reading these stories on the back of your backdrop. I could just read them. They're right on that fruit or whatever's behind you back there.
Oh yeah, flowers. I think.
If you look close, Thomas Merton story right there, and a sheep story over there.
Mm. Yeah, I see blue and yellow and green and red.
Yeah. Beautiful. And
Yeah,
that's what
colors.
you sleep on. You sleep on that.
No. I sleep on the floor.
Oh, right. That's great. I remember
Yeah.
one of my favorite times of my life was I threw all my furniture. I was only maybe 19, but I got rid of all the furniture in the room
Mm.
and just put a little like fold out chair bed on the floor that would stretch out like a bed, but then fold up to a little tiny chair. And that was the only thing on the floor, and like a Jack Kerouac book and a
Yeah.
John
Yeah.
Coltrane. And that was it. And I felt so free to not have anything else in the room. It felt so great.
Yeah. Yeah, the room's empty relatively.
Like that. Yes.
Yeah.
Is that your only fan?
Yeah.
Benjamin Smythe, only fan. That's your website.
Yeah. No.
Only
Only
fan.
fan. Oh, I get it. Only fan. No.
Sorry.
No, it's perfect. I'm slow.
No way. Slow is good.
Boom, 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 boom.
Is that the theme?
That'd be a great theme.
Yeah.
How to walk on earth without hurrying.
Ah.
Boom, 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 boom,
Ah.
boom,
No, that's great.
boom, 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 boom. I think that's Warner Brothers.
Like Thich Nhat Hanh, walk like you're kissing the earth with your feet. Like
Or
nice.
Foghorn Leghorn.
Yeah,
Right? You had those big feet and you just hit
those
the earth
big
with them.
feet. Don't be.
Boom, 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 boom.
That's it. Or the tortoise in the hare, where the tortoise is going nice and easy.
Oh yeah.
Always wins the race.
Yeah.
Should we roll the die one last time?
Sure. Yeah, this is great. I love to see what happens in the conversation reality.
Yeah.
We got B.
B, your turn.
B. My turn. Here we go. B, 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 B. Bleach.
Bleach.
Colorlessness.
Oh, that's good. We were just talking about color.
Let's roll for another one. K. Oh, I always end up, there's only a couple Ks, and some of them are really dark. Oh, that one.
Ketamine.
Kennel. Doghouse, stall, hovel, hut, hutch. See abode.
Hey,
Can I ask
How
you? Can I
about
ask you? Oh
how about K for kenosis? Remember kenosis?
no, what's kenosis?
Self-emptying, like in Christian mysticism,
Oh,
sort of the can I ask you, I like to ask the guests sometimes, I know you're not like overly religious or anything, but to give me like your mystical interpretation of the cross, if you ever think about it, or like a different vision than we had when we were kids and we rejected it, or I know I
well,
rejected it.
yeah. It's the lowercase t
Ah, a
for
little
truth.
more.
Well, just for truth.
Ah,
It's a lowercase
okay.
t for truth, and it's a small truth
T.
because it's a feature of waking state. Everything we find in waking state is a tiny little thing relatively. So even the big religions, which feel so powerful,
So big.
it's just,
Yeah,
it's just a feature of waking state.
right.
There's no religion in deep sleep.
No.
No. So the beauty is already the case, and then there's this sort of salad bar kaleidoscopic game we can play with all these ideas.
So when we see this, the lowercase t,
Yeah, it's
it's
true.
not the uppercase t.
Well,
It's
there's
the
no
lower.
uppercase T. Yeah, there's no
Right.
uppercase letter. The uppercase letters are always a mistake. Throw them out.
If we see someone writing in all caps, no good.
Yeah, no.
No, it's never
Con
good.
Consciousness with an uppercase C, don't you dare.
That's
Like, get out of here. Put it all lowercase. If you do it all lowercase, it all makes perfect sense.
yes.
It can only
Because
be
it's
itself.
you're saying it's a little more humble.
Yeah, it just doesn't have the idea of being proper.
Yes,
It's chaos as a lowercase state.
I like that.
Chaos with a lowercase c. Like, just
Yes, that's
everything is
how it's.
lowercase. Yeah, you're like, oh. It's like if E. E. Cummings were God, like
Ah, beautiful. That's beautiful. I
uh,
love E. Cummings.
yeah.
The poets, do you have, so you like the poets, and I know you like science and philosophy.
Hmm. Yeah, I think of psychology, philosophy, and poetry as the same thing.
Carl Jung.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. I like Alfred Adler. Alfred Adler was a
Yes.
contemporary of Freud's, and he denied trauma. He said trauma doesn't exist, and I love that. I think that's a
That is
very
great.
useful perspective.
Wait, we have to talk about that because
Well,
people love to hold on to the trauma, and you're saying Adler said there is no trauma.
yeah,
Wait,
he said
stop.
deny the idea that it exists, and
That's so
it
refreshing.
well, it makes sense too if you don't have a residual self, like if historical self ends up being an illusion,
Right.
in that we can't find our life anywhere on the planet, right? Like, just
Right.
in waking state, we never stumble across our life. It's a neurological dream that we maintain like a garden.
Beautiful.
And then we pull it out and we share it with each other, which we can do. What did I do yesterday? What I do last year,
Right.
etc. But if we look closely, it's not actually real. There's no
No,
substance to the historical
nothing.
self. So that same kind of like,
So who had trauma?
exactly.
Yeah.
And where is
Adler.
it really?
Adler.
Yeah.
I didn't think of Adler.
Yeah,
That's
he's
big.
great.
I'm putting that right in the astonishment toolbox. Adler.
Hmm. Beautiful idea. And I
Beautiful.
don't want to, like, I want to say too, because I'm not saying that people's experiences
No, you're
should be
not. No,
negated in any way. I'm not saying that. But it's
no.
interesting, in the culture of trauma, there was a voice that said, hey, you might have another option.
Yes.
And that's what I find appreciative of running across his work.
Love that.
It's like, oh, wait a minute, I don't even have to have this whole, like, Freud's whole framework. I don't have to take seriously if I don't want to.
Right.
Which makes sense, right? We know this with
Yeah.
religion. Like, if you don't want to take a certain religious perspective seriously, you don't have to. Well,
No,
psychology is a very interesting poetic, religious, mytho-poetic premise,
that's
right? Because
beautifully said.
psyche is a mystical idea, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So it
It's
gets really
so
interesting. Yeah, like, what are we talking about in the end? In
right.
the end, what are we talking about?
I think psyche goes back to like butterfly or something, right? Or
Probably.
soul. Yeah.
Yeah. The idea
That's the
that
whole
there's
thing. The cocoon, the caterpillar cocoon, and the butterfly is everything. You could just stop right there.
yeah. And don't forget the branch. You need the branch.
You're
You
right.
got to have the
You're right.
branch.
Branch out.
The environment is everything.
The branch. So for the anyone watching, as we wrap it up, do you have any last words? Don't you said don't quantify this. You said back up and just observe. Don't. Would you say don't take it so seriously?
I wouldn't say it. No, I would just, the main thing, I guess, if I had something to say, would just trust yourself and listen, and really notice that you can
No, I love
listen.
what you just said. That's a big question that a lot of people, they'll ask, how do I know if I'm listening to my ego or if I'm listening to my true self? Like, how do I know what the voice, and like a David Hopmeister, I asked him and he said, well, it'll be lighter. You'll know because it'll be lighter and softer. And what would your answer be? Like, how do you know if you're trusting in, it says drop everything and go to Minnesota. You don't know, is that my ego? What is that voice that I'm listening to? Or is it inner guidance? Is it the how do you know?
I can't answer this because I used to have audio hallucinations.
Right,
so
right.
my advice to myself is don't listen to it if it's in English.
That's great. Don't wait. So you might get it, but it might be in another language that you can't translate.
Right.
But would you say you'll know what it means intuitively without translating it, or you're going to have to, for you?
Yeah. For me, it's the silence doesn't have anything it needs to do. So there isn't a message. It's the opposite of a message.
No, I totally am with you. I'm just thinking of someone that's watching that doesn't understand that. Like the TV's on while there's no silence.
No, but we have to.
They work,
right.
They're suffering, they're struggling. Every time they try to move towards health and beauty, life just hits them with a polo mallet right on the head. Something happens and they just can't, like, what? They're trying so hard. And every time either life does it or the mind does it, something happens. What do you say to them? No pressure.
Well,
no pressure.
Yeah, no, there's no pressure because I think you just fabricated that person.
I did.
Yeah,
Wait, would you just said reminds me of this great meme I know you love. Two monkeys are sitting there and one monkey says, imagine we're on a boat, and the other monkey goes, okay. He's like, and we're in the middle of the ocean. The other monkey's like, all right. And the boat is sinking and hit an iceberg. And the other monkey's like, oh, sharks are coming and we can't swim. And he's like, what would you do? And the other monkey said, I'd stop imagining. Is that where you're going? Yeah.
Yeah, just a little, like, I don't want to pretend I know the audience.
Right.
Because I don't know myself. I can't even imagine someone else. So this idea that there's
comments and things people say.
No, I totally get it.
Yeah,
like there's a kind of common theme we could try to address.
Right,
but I believe fully in the strength of the person listening to be able to sit in the silence.
I love that. Even though they think that they can't.
Well, silence is free. So just the freedom of silence.
But they'll say, what do I have to do it?
Right. Well, that's up for them to figure out.
Right.
Don't be too helpful.
Now you sound like the Zen masters.
Oh, well, you don't want to be too helpful.
Those guys are tough. They'll give you a little poem and kick you in the ass.
If I could drop you off on the top of Mount Everest in a helicopter, or you could climb it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So kill the helicopter. No free rides.
Yes. I always think of this as climbing. I'm trying not to say it now, but for the beginning, a lot of the podcasts I said it's like climbing Everest naked during a snowstorm with a little tool belt, and it's nighttime, naked, snowstorm, Everest, little tool belt. What would you bring, and what could we put in that tool belt? But I don't want to turn people off and make it that scary that they have to climb during a storm, you know. But it is like that sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, we can metaphor our way out of the riddle too. So we want to be, I mean, in the end, it's just,
I like metaphor out.
yeah,
We
simple.
metaphor in, we metaphor out.
Yeah, we go, it's too easy to tell stories that aren't happening. So I
No,
want
I
to just
love that.
notice.
So you're saying the same about I made up the seeker that's suffering, saying I can't, and you're
Yeah,
saying we could also
yeah,
make up and metaphor, we can get out of that because it's
yeah.
an imaginary jail.
Right. Well, imagine like in the time that we're sitting here, spontaneously happening, we have the ability to fabricate all of the reference points to our particular statements. So you
Yeah.
can make up the seeker, you can make up the seeker, but if you had to find the seeker right now in your actual
Ah,
direct experience,
yes.
you can't even find the seeker. And the
No.
seeker, if there is such a thing, can't find themselves. So
Right.
it's easier to assume there's no such thing.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Can we print that?
No. We can forget it though.
Don't put it on a refrigerator magnet. Don't do it.
You do whatever you want. The sun's gonna blow up someday. I don't.
That's a story too.
Yeah, but it's a pretty good one.
It is a good one.
It is a really good one.
We have time, sort of.
Sure. Well, the body's an incense stick burning, right? So
Yes,
all we have is smoke.
that's good. Like those exclamation points in the sky.
Yeah,
It's
that was
just,
great.
yeah. Benjamin, this was so nice, and I hope you come back
Yeah,
again.
yeah. Thank you so much for inviting me. It's really fun to talk with you.
It's been great.
Yeah, I like the mystical side of things.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's fun. You know, it's a really fun, rare conversation, at least in the non-duality circles. But
Yes.
I appreciate being able to play with God in the end.
Yes. I love that.
Yeah.
We have a lot to chew on with this one. Thank
No,
you.
forget everything I said. Forget
Forget
it
it.
all. Forget
Don't
it all.
remember.
Don't remember. You can't remember anyway.
This never happened.
Ah, there you go. Now we're into it.
Uh-oh.
It never happened.
Never happened.
Well, we're not artifacts, so we're not even here. Have a
Good
beautiful
seeing
day.
you. Good
You
almost
too. You
seeing you,
too.
or sort of seeing you, or maybe
Yeah,
seeing you,
right. Oh man,
hallucinating you.
the inevitability of it. Yeah, hallucinating each other. There we go.
Mirage brother.
Have
I'll see you soon.
fun, man. Take
You
care.
too.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.